Welcome to the Johnny Dell Football Academy podcast on the channel that's trying to answer the whys and hows of the game by talking through and dissecting game film and diving deeper to explain why the X's zig and the O's zag. I am Adam Marino, joined by Mr. Johnny Dell, and we are reminding you, as always, the most fun way to watch is on YouTube, where we go live. There you can comment into the live show. Be sure to hit the notification bell and turn on your notifications so you can be a part of the conversation. We also stream live on Facebook and X. Also, the audio versions are always found on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Now, if you are live with us in the chat, it's probably because you are subscribed, you've hit the notification bell, and turned those notifications on. So, when sharing with your friends, be sure to let them know. We also love to hear from you outside of our live show. Email us at johnnydellsfootballacademy@gmail.com, and you can always check out the website JFA49.com, as it is the most fun way to support the channel. Also, the way we boost the chat and boost the algorithm is to type out hashtag JD49. Yes, hashtag JD49. Not only that, everyone is just going bonkers in the chat. We love to see it live on the YouTubery. If you are not watching on YouTube, I don't know what you're doing with your life. Be sure to like and subscribe. It is a Victory Monday. We are in mid-season form. We are not in preseason form. We are in mid-season form. Jake Moody got us that way. Anytime we beat the Raiders, I don't care if it's in underwater basket weaving, if it's in a real game, if it's preseason game, I don't care. It's the Raiders, and I want to beat them. And luckily, because it was preseason, it's the only reason we did. Keep that in mind, faithful, as they were trying to pass the ball. There's no way they would be doing that in a regular season. Thanks to 49ers Throwback for the super chat. He says, good morning. Man, hope you had a good weekend. Tell me your confidence level changes with Jake Moody. Chase Lucas better be on this roster. Dude is a dog. Johnny.
Yeah, well, let's take the Jake Moody thing first. Several things to get into here. Jake Moody is an experience. This is the Jake Moody experience, and right now Jake Moody has a chance to the next probably 2 months make us figure out if he's going to be the kicker version of the Jimmy G experience, or is he going to be the next Adam Vinatieri, where we just believe in him. Or, well, I was about to say another kicker, but he shall never be named again, and he's been replaced on the Ravens team. But he did well. I mean, 4 for 5. That one miss, I mean, it came early, and you were like, gosh, dadgummit, Jake Moody. And then seemed shaky on a few kicks. I mean, they weren't right down the pipe. Like they were a little just inside the upright, just inside. So confidence changes is, I feel like I'm more confident in his confidence right now. And confidence, I mean, with a kicker, it is everything. It's kind of like when you're a golfer, that anybody who's ever been out there, if you sit there and you obsess and you get it in your mind, like I cannot slice this one because there's water on the right. Can't do it. Whack. Dadgummit, did it. Like you're gonna do that, or you're gonna shank it over there. You will almost never hit it right down the fairway when you're sitting there just obsessing over I can't miss. And so kickers have to have extremely high confidence of, I'm going to knock this sucker right down the middle, right through there. I'm the best kicker in the league. They kind of have to have that sort of confidence. And so I feel better about his confidence. My confidence in him is still shaky at this point.
Yeah.
Just because I'm not seeing the consistency in the kicks. It's not just, right down there, especially when it's in a dome. If it was outside and you're dealing with winds and one's a little bit to the right and one's a little bit to the left, okay, I can understand that. When there's weather is not a factor and you're still kind of scattershot a little bit, and you've been changing up your approach this season, I don't feel 100% confident that you're going to win us 3 games this year. because I feel like at least 3 games this year are going to come down to whether your kicker makes it or not. So that's where I'm at with Jake Moody. Chase Lucas absolutely needs to make this team. That guy has been playing his rear end off. He has been just showing out. None of us knew Chase Lucas before the first preseason game. This is what's fascinating about preseason is you will have somebody that you cannot foresee on the radar that's going to show up and just show out and get everybody's attention. So seeing Chase Lucas get out there and do that has been awesome. It also makes you just wonder how good has Upton Stout been if he's still if Upton Stout has still had the inside track on Chase Lucas. And Chase Lucas has looked fantastic. And makes you go, okay, does Upton Stout still have the inside track? I feel like we have now, if the hype on Upton Stout is real, we have 2 extremely solid options at slot, which also means you can go to some dime packages that we haven't seen in San Francisco in a long, long time, where now you can bring 6 defensive backs on the field and have Fred Warner out there, and your coverage abilities are wild. That would just be another tool in the tool bag for an already great defensive coordinator in Robert Saleh. So that's kind of how I'm locking in with everything and feeling on that.
I couldn't agree more on Moody and Lucas. I'm right there with you. Again, it being preseason, there was a lot of things that happened in that game that you take with a grain of salt as far as how it would have went if it was the regular season. Let's talk about the opening drive and what you thought of a one Brock Purdy.
Man, I thought Brock Purdy was extremely sharp. I thought he was on it. It was on time.
Slick
He was
Rick.
throwing with anticipation.
Slick Rick, buddy.
Well, and that's kind of a different, I guess, a sidebar off of that. But the way that Brock was seeing the field, was understanding the movement, was identifying pre-snap to post-snap coverage, getting the ball out on time with accuracy, is just was something that I just looked at and went, okay. Especially when I watched the film, I went, okay, this makes me much happier. Like this feels like we're getting into Brock is seeing the field extremely well, and he's got that big contract now, and it just made me feel much better about the offense going forward, because I've had a lot of concerns, especially with the wide receiver room, with the way it's been, and just seeing how he was operating that. I was going, okay. This looks like Brock is on it, is on time, is on point. So love seeing what I saw from Brock. And then the things with Ricky Pearsall, understanding now he's getting into nuances of plays. And I'll show this when I do my full review video. Which again, thank you for every member of the 49ers, of the members website, JFA49.com. They're the ones who make those videos possible, because I don't think I'm going to be able to monetize anything off of those weekly review videos. So when I do that this week, which is really over the next 24 hours, pouring over film and doing all the editing and everything, it's people that are the members that allow that to happen. We need about 100 more members to make that keep that going through this season. But when I get into that, I'm going to show some of the stuff there from Ricky that I'm really impressed with. Making adjustments on the fly and understanding the adjustments is not just like playing backyard football. There's adjustments, and then there's playmaking, which are 2 different things. He's understanding now, making some adjustments as the plays are going, seeing the defensive coverage and understanding how he's going to break something off, how he's going to change something, and Brock being comfortable with him doing that. That is what these OTAs, mini camp, training camp reps provide. And so now that he's actually getting that, I mean, this is at such valuable time that these reps that they're getting together, that they've gotten in camp. That makes me really excited, because I don't want another season, and I didn't want another season saying, okay, he didn't get these, they're behind on this stuff, and they can't work it out in practice during the year. So That's what I love seeing. Just a quick point of clarification for some people saying, it's a long intro, because I've seen that a few times on different ones. The reason we do that is because I have a tracker that shows me how many people are watching live. And what we figured out was the first 2 minutes of the show had almost nobody watching. And then by 2 minutes, the viewership jumped by about 8 or 10 times. So we did a 2-minute long intro to be able to get some of the stuff out of the way, make it clean, and give everybody time to hop in when the notifications turn on or when they were scrolling. So that's why we have the intro it is, because y'all take about 2 minutes to get into the show. So that's why it is that way.
Yeah. It's just like when you watch Saturday Night Live, you know how it's going to start every time. You know how long their intro is going to be. And it's been going for 50 years. All right. So I want to get into the receivers and ask you, besides my dog, Slick Rick, we know he did well. He's supposed to do well. He's healthy. He's a first round pick, like blah, blah, blah. All right. But T.O.'s son, for now, that's all I'm going to call him, because he dropped the ball. And
Well,
so
he's T.O. as well. I mean, he's a T.O. as well.
Fair. So we got him, we got a couple other guys. We have the chosen one, if you will. Which guy took a step back? Which guy took a step forward? What are you seeing there?
I can't speak to all that with a whole bunch of clarity right now. I only made it through about halfway through the second quarter on the offensive film so far, so I haven't gotten there. I will say what I saw in the first and half of the second quarter was really liked the blocking from the chosen one and Demarcus Robinson. They really came to block. Russell Gage has a ways to go in the blocking department. I think he's going to face an uphill battle to over some of these guys from the blocking perspective. But I think it was Robbie Chosen, may have been Demarcus Robinson. I'm trying to remember exactly which one is which number, because I think Robbie's number 3 and Demarcus Robinson's number 5. I'm learning all these new numbers this year.
Yeah, Robbie,
and I want to say it was number 3 was blocking Jamal Adams to the sideline, and it was real, real feisty. And then I think they took a picture after the game together. So was really liking that side of it.
What is your take on Lisa? Thank you for the super chat. What does Kyle mean when he says Jacob Cowing is almost there?
That is a great question.
Like
I
blocking?
wish I could get into Kyle's mind and know exactly what he's saying. He's not going to tell us exactly what it is. He's going to say, well, he's almost there. I wish I knew. I really wish I knew. We got to see Jacob Cowing on the field, especially I have to see more of his reps on the field to know. I think Jacob Cowing is a wild card this year right now. The next 2 weeks is going to be really, really important for him. Actually, really, unfortunately, it's only going to be about the next 10 days because they don't have that much longer of training camp. And he's got to get some more reps in there. And he's got to get some live reps during training camp before the season starts, because they're going to wrap training camp here in about 10 days and take a break for a week and then come back and start game planning for Seattle. They're going to do their roster cuts and all that during a week. So Jacob Cowing, this is a big week for him, and he's missed almost the entire training camp. He just has. Now, he did get the training camp before, but he has had to make a lot of growth this offseason and this last year. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. I don't know what almost there is. And that's one of those Kyle-isms where he just says something and you're like, I don't really know what that means.
Yeah. So a shout out to Strawberry Reacts, who has started the chat going on Mac Jones. And I want to have a conversation. So here's the things that I want to give reminders on about Mac Jones. We know that Brock and Mac had a buddy situation. They played PlayStation together. They showed each other. One of them showed the other one the campus, like whatever, all that. They knew each other. They were kind of buddy. Now Matt comes over. He's obviously learning a lot from Brock. He knows for a fact that he's the backup. There's no chance of not being the backup. Brock got paid all the money, so his mindset is there. And I gotta say, I'm overall, I agree with the chat that he's not going to take over and like win you the game and like all this stuff. But I agree that with the chat that overall, I would honestly say I'm impressed by Mac Jones because I wasn't sure what to expect. And I think he's played really well. What say you?
Yeah, I think watching him operate the offense, Kyle had it was very much, yeah, that was what happened. I watched the pick. He said he got too greedy with it, tried to hold the hook defender, and you also see a difference, in a player like Mac Jones and Brock Purdy, who are a lot of people will say, Brock Purdy's just Mac Jones with a better offensive coach. No, the like Mac, he tried to hold the hook defender, and then he moves on to look. He confirms. Then he gets into his windup. Brock doesn't take his eyes to where he's throwing until he's in his throwing motion, and that difference was the difference between a pick and a not pick. So, you know, Mac is not going to be on the level of Brock. That's just clear. But I feel like he's going to operate the offense. You could still plug him in and win a number of games with this team. He's not going to give you the efficiency. I don't think I think he's going to make some more mistakes than Brock necessarily would. I don't think Kyle would trust him as much as he trusts Brock. But from understanding the game of being cerebral and being able to operate the entire offense, I feel much more comfortable with him at this point than I have in at least 2 years of
Yeah,
any of our backups
I
of being able to come in and run the offense. Definitely more than I
yeah,
did with Sam Darnold. And I think the story you're kind of alluding back to is when Mac Jones was the third quarterback at Alabama, he was sitting behind Tua and Jalen Hurts, and then Mac was their third. And Brock was coming to visit Alabama as to potentially go play there. And Mac was the one showing him around campus down here, not too far from
yeah,
me, down in Tuscaloosa.
yeah.
And so,
And they
um,
played like
yeah,
Madden together and stuff.
they
They
played
like
some foosball on the old PlayStations together, and then
that's pretty
infamously
cool.
Brock was there. He went to meet with Nick Saban. Nick Saban was like, "I don't even know who you are," and Brock was like, "All right, I'm not coming here. I'm not going
Yeah,
to a college where the coach does not even care to know who I am." And that's kind of Nick Saban's shtick. Like Nick Saban probably has said that to most of the recruits that are coming in, because Nick Saban is a very hard coach. Like he
yeah,
does not want people coming in with egos. He's gonna there's a guy who lives literally behind my house who ended up going and playing in Alabama. He walked on at Alabama and then spent a number of years in the NFL. But Nick Saban's a very hard coach to operate under. Like he might purposely come in. He may actually know who you are and just tell you, like, I don't even know who you are, because he doesn't want you coming in with an ego and feeling like you have deserved anything. He wants people to work for everything that is there. So, that might have been some of the backstory there. Lisa coming
yeah,
in with another super chat. She says, I'm glad Mac is QB2. I'm confident in him. I am. I'm confident. I'm
yeah.
much more confident in him than I a lot more confident in him than I was with Sam Darnold. And so this really is, San Francisco's turning into a place where if you want to revive your career as a backup and parlay that into a starting position somewhere else, that's where you go. So, I mean, we've seen that now, and especially with the Sam Darnold reclamation project, that you go there and that parlays you into a starting role with the Vikings, and then now a big contract and a starting role continuing on with the Seattle Seahawks. So Mac is going to look at that situation and say, you know what? I want to parlay that into a starting position here somewhere. That's what I want to do. And if I can show I can operate this system, then there's going to be a bunch of people who want to run this system who will look at me and say, I'm gonna go get Mac Jones and get somebody who was a former first round pick. So obviously the talent's there.
So a couple of things still going on in the chat that I want to bring up, Johnny. But first, I want to remind you guys to take your phone, show it to people wearing Niners gear, show them the Johnny Dell Football channel, show them your favorite video, let them know that we go live. So hit the notification bell. Also, new episodes of Sports Idiot Nation, as you know, now are Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Today's episode, we just got done. We talked about everything going on with Michigan football. The Milwaukee Brewers somehow won 14 games in a row. And then all the preseason stuff. We talked about Ashton Genty, when to draft him for your fantasy football league, stuff like that. So getting back to the chat, I want to talk through a couple things. First of all, Callie checks in and says that Larry Krueger thinks that Mac is better than Sam Darnold. And then he also thought, though, that Mordecai was going to beat out Mac for QB2.
Look, I don't want to. I don't want to disparage other content creators. Like I don't want to. We'll just move on from that. Look, I a lot of different people. When you're sitting here behind a microphone and broadcasting out there, you're gonna say some things that are wildly inaccurate from time to time. I mean, I say things that are wildly inaccurate from time to time. We're all taking our best guess, so I'm not going to disparage too many people for different things. I mean, somebody doubles, triples, quadruples down on different things that are obviously wrong. Yeah, I'll take some jabs. But overall, I try not to disparage anybody else for what they're doing.
The other thing was Levi Snyder checked in and said, can we talk Corey Kiner? He looks like another running back sleeper to me. I've loved seeing him run. Hope he returns soon. And no idea why we let JP walk to the Vikings, right? He went.
So
but running backs can't stay healthy again.
Yeah.
Abdullah,
So a couple things here. One, you were going to lose Jordan Mason to free agency. That was going to happen. So if you're going to lose a guy, you want to lose them at a time where you're going to get the most value for them. I think they were probably not going to lose him to get a third comp sort of a thing. They understood that, like, Jordan Mason was seen as a good football player, but he just remember what he went for. I think he went for a fourth, right? So I think that's what the 49ers traded him for. Mm-hmm. I know it wasn't at least a third. So
someone check us, but yeah.
I'm gonna check it real quick. But let me just make sure.
You're getting called out. You're getting called out a little bit, Johnny.
Yeah, I know.
Johnny said that we wouldn't trade Lance.
So what they did is that they got a fifth, and then I'll get to leases in a second. They got a fifth, and then they swapped sixth. So that's what they got for Jordan Mason. That also tells you what the 49ers thought he was going to get in free agency. I talked about this. I did a show several weeks ago with stats, and I showed it sometimes on here during the weekly breakdowns, and we talked about it on the podcast last year that Jordan Mason, he's a fan favorite because of the way he runs and the physicality he runs with, but he was lacking in understanding the nuances of the run game. He just was. It would lead to some big 15, 16, 20-yard gains every once in a while, but it was also going to lead to a lot of -1 yard gains or no yard gains. And here's what you have to remember with a 49ers offense and a Kyle Shanahan. He would rather get 2 7-yard runs than 1 20-yard run and one -1 yard run. Yes, your net gain is 5 yards more with the latter, but the latter might end a drive. Whereas the first 2 7-yard gains are going to continue your drive. You're going to get at least 2 first downs. That's what you're looking at. And so if a guy is showing an ability that if he runs it here and he's not supposed to, but he gets 16 yards, that's great. But I'm still going to be mad at you when you do that again and you only get 1 yard or you get -1 yard and you could have gotten 6 or 7. And that was very much the way that Jordan Mason was as a runner. And you really saw that last year when the 49ers really struggled in their man blocking schemes in the red zone. That became very apparent. And he didn't have the patience in the run game. So when the 49ers trade him for a 5th-round pick, understand if he was going to go into free agency and they're projecting him to make $4.5 or $5 million a year, which is just kind of like, average or low starting running back salary, the 49ers get a third round comp for him. And so they would be looking at that and saying, we're okay keeping Mason this year, letting him go into free agency, and we'll get a third round comp. They did not even see that coming. They said, we have a chance to improve what we invested in him. He was a 6th or 7th round pick, and they got him for a 5th. They traded him for a 5th. So they're able to recoup and gain on their investment, but they didn't believe that any team was going to trade for him as a legitimate starting running back role, that he's probably going to the Vikings as a 1-2 punch role running back. That tells you what the league feels about him and what he felt and what the 49ers felt about him, that they did not see him as a guy that would be a starter for them, that he's a rotational piece. And it again reinforces how they felt about his pass blocking, his pass catching, and the details of him operating in this run game. And that's really important for this 49ers run game. We're going to touch on that in here in a minute with Patrick Taylor. So Mason was an undrafted free agent, excuse me. It's hard to remember between all the different running backs we've drafted over the years and everything. But yeah, so that's where is with that. Corey Kiner, yes, really explosive on there. What I liked about Corey is that he looked much more comfortable in reading the runs this game than he did last game. But that led, then he got the really bad high ankle. He's probably going to be out 2 months. It may even require surgery, considering how bad that high ankle looked. So, because some of those high ankles can require surgery, and we'll see about that. He's probably out until at least October. But yeah, so that's where it is. And I think they also look at this and say, we can get a 5th for Mason, and then we have other guys that we got in there. They got Jordan James, who hopefully he can come back. I think he's going to be a much more natural fit into this zone blocking scheme. They got Isaac Garendo, but these guys got to stay healthy. I mean, our running back room is getting really unhealthy, but they've been looking for that veteran running back to bring in. Amir Abdullah came in, and then it's like he immediately got I think he broke his rib. There hasn't been sure what it is. It's just named as a rib, and he's out. And then they signed Jeff Wilson. So I would be surprised if they don't just stash Amir Abdullah on IR, and then if there's a running back issue down the road, they look to use him as one of the guys to return from IR. But they've got Jeff Wilson in there for all of that. So that's just kind of where it is with the running backs. And coming back to Lisa as she's taking the jab at me. Yeah, this is probably my most famous thing. I remember I did a special show. It was in this room on a Wednesday night because the rumors were coming out, or there was speculation that the 49ers were going to shop Trey Lance. And I did a special show, came out. I'm like, it was special just to tell everybody the 49ers were not going to trade Trey Lance. There was no way. You don't draft a guy this high, 3 first-round picks to trade him away. You don't do that, especially in their third, like it was his second season or third season at that point. I'm like, you don't do that. The next morning, they traded Trey Lance. So, yes, Lisa is reminding me of that. And I will own that. I put that out like every year that I did a special show to tell everybody there was no way we trade Trey Lance like 12 hours before Trey Lance was traded. Lisa hitting up the super chats today.
Yes, we love it.
And he says, Mason had changed his mindset before CMC, probably would have been a better outlook. He basically said in a presser because CMC showed him a humble approach. Yeah, they're definitely like Mason just kind of reminds you of he was just a downhill runner. Like he was not a read it. It was like just
or shifty,
like point you. He was pure destruction and point him in the right direction, and then he was going to go. If he's in a system that allows him to do that a little bit more, they're gonna have that. But as far as like, and this isn't a knock on him or saying that it's kind of like playing quarterback. There in this system, you have to be able to see it and go. Like there's no thinking; it's just reacting. And sometimes guys have that, and sometimes they don't. That's not. I probably do not have that. I played running back in high school, and I was not that kind of a runner either. So, that's just the way it is. That he was very much like gonna go where he was gonna go with a lot of steam and destruction, but sometimes that led to negative plays.
Terradome. Oops, what happened was.
Yeah. What had happened was.
Yeah. No, love it. Your takes aren't outrageous though, like others. That's why we love this channel. Okay, so let's talk some injuries, which I hate doing, but Dominic Puni.
PCL strain, they're saying maybe a few weeks. It's going to put him right up. It's going to put him right up to the deadline for the
No,
season opener.
like it's just so
Look,
frustrating.
this team cannot do any football activities without somebody getting hurt. What it concerns me is that we have not seen a week, like even 2 days of practice. I don't even know if we've seen a day of practice or a game where there has not been at least one player hurt. So it just makes you go, project this out for the season, and you're going to lose 17 to 20 players throughout the season. Like that's just what it starts saying. And that worries me. That for some reason we have somebody getting hurt, something, and I don't know how many times I don't want to beleaguer the point and feel like a broken record here. Something is wrong. Like they have head trainer Something Wong is there in Santa Clara, and they need to change it up because this just isn't working.
Kind of like that joke. Yeah, so that and like
actually my sophomore year, I was the kid who ran out there to retrieve the kicking tee after we kicked off. So you're not wrong. That is why I know so much about football, actually, because I rode the bench the entire year, and my only time I saw the field was running out there to getting the kickoff tee, and I was like, never again. I've got to learn more about football and figure out what to do and become valuable on this team in some way, because I was always going in the wrong direction and I didn't know what I was supposed to do, didn't know anything, and my coaches weren't helping me, so I went and decided I was going to learn it myself. So yeah, I really was in charge of retrieving the kicking tee after the kickoffs one year.
That's hilarious. I played football in high school as well. It was a small school, so I had to be Travis Hunter. It's not because I was good. So I was a safety, and because I didn't know where else to put me, like, all right, just be the last line of defense. And then I was a wide receiver, and I actually could catch.
Safety is a dangerous spot. I remember we had a guy, Mike. I can't remember his last name. This poor kid. I was a junior. I think he was a junior as well, and he decided to go play football. Because all of his friends were. Mike was 115 pounds soaking wet, like maybe 120. And the kid was so scared to hit anybody. Like, why you go play football and you're scared to hit and make contact? I mean, this kid was getting blown up every day in practice, to the point we stopped blowing him up after a while because everybody would feel bad. Because he was really like he was a nice kid. He had a good attitude. We were beating a team like 42-10, and it's in the fourth quarter. And our coach was, like trying to put the third and fourth stringers in there to get it, go out there, you can play. And he put Mikey in at safety. And I remember this team, they had a 240-pound kid. The kid had to be like 240 at running back. Because I played at 180, and this guy was way bigger than me. It wasn't very fast. He's easy to tackle. Anyways, Mikey, it was there. Running back came through the right B gap, and only had him. It was the running back, and Mikey was the only guy between him and the end zone. And again, this kid was like 240 pounds too slow, and he couldn't change direction very easily. And so he just put his shoulder down, and Mikey just dropped his head to make the tackle. He dropped his head and put his arms out, and he got impaled by this dude. He made the tackle, but I remember I was standing next to my coach because I was sometimes helping call in the defensive calls. He turned to me, and then he turned to another coach, and he handed him his clipboard, and he went, "I think I'm going to go see Mikey's tailbone sticking out of his rear end." and he goes, "And this is why I don't let kids like Mikey play," and ran out there. And like Mikey was laying on the ground and other guys ran up and he started like moving his fingers. He's like, I feel tingly. Oh no.
Yeah,
Oh
I
no.
bet you
And
did.
thankfully Mikey was okay. But anyways, that's what I imagine when you say you play safety. Anyways, but speaking of safeties, Marcus Siegel is probably your week 1 starter at safety right now. He is tackling in space. He's coming with violence. And look, when we watched some of his tape here during the offseason after the 49ers drafted him, kid was not afraid to go make physical tackles, to come from a deep slot and come down and make tackles. Didn't always take the best angles, but it is very clear the 49ers drafted him, and probably the first discussion they had with him was, you have to be better at tackling. And whatever he has done this offseason to work on that is really impressive, because the way this kid is coming up and making tackles in space looks better than Jair Brown. It looks way better than Tayshaun Gibson his last year. Tayshaun Gibson, just was losing a step and wasn't able to make his tackles in space. Way better than Logan Ryan, who was here and played for us in the Super Bowl. Like Marcus Siegel has looked fantastic. So, I just think of him, Pinnock, Malik Mustafa. You got 3 really, you can count on these guys, safeties that are there. I would not be surprised if the minute that Malik Mustafa is healthy, if Pinnock and Siegel are still healthy as well, that Jair Brown is not shopped at this point. He has become the odd man out just in that safety room, is what it looks like. The only reason I think they have him there is because you don't want to shop him now and then lose a Pinnock, lose a Marcus Siegel, and you don't have Malik Mustafa on the back burner. So Mustafa's got to get back quick, and I think those are your 2 young safeties going forward.
Jair Brown was first, second, or third round pick out of Penn State.
3rd round. He was the second safety off the board, because I was pounding the table for another safety that year who went to the Eagles, and he was the first safety off the field. It was another Brown, Sidney Brown.
Yes, Sidney Brown. Oh my gosh, that dude! You talked about him like he was your cousin. Like, yes, that is well documented on this very program.
My cousins have a last name of Gonzalez, not Brown.
Well,
and
I
got like 3,000 of them in Texas.
You stuck up for him the way that people on Facebook stick up for Shadur Sanders, like he's their cousin or something. Like, guys, he's just a 5th round pick. Like, it's okay, calm down. So anyway, okay, what else is happening? We are not going live on Friday, right? Quick news and notes.
We have some film to get to. Remember that
oh
Adam.
Let's do that. I just want to talk about, it's gonna be kind of fun. You got Harbaugh and Shanahan coming up this weekend. It's kind of cool. But yes, I am interested in the clip, as I did forget. Luckily, this is not a one-man band, so let's get to it, Johnny.
Yeah, okay. Well,
wait, are you ready? Wait, I said
no, I'm not ready. I don't have it pulled up.
I will remind you. I'll remind everyone.
Okay, now I got it pulled up.
Oh, I'll remind everyone to be quiet. Church is in session. All rise.
No, they don't have to be quiet, Adam. You don't get to tell people.
They
when
automatically
to
stay quiet. Look, when Johnny shows a video, the chat gets quiet.
Okay. Hopefully the NFL doesn't flag me for using this film. So some people have been like, I wish Johnny did more film breakdowns on his podcast. Well, I would if I didn't get flagged as much. So it's just the way it goes, because then they want to take everything that comes from this. But so we're going to be running this wide zone. We're going to bring tight end in motion, and we're going to go block it out. Okay. This is why the running backs being on their pre-snap cues and everything and seeing what they need to see is really important. The reading of these runs isn't all done post-snap. They've got to understand these looks pre-snap. So we bring this motion across. The Seahawks bring a safety down, and then they bump over these underneath players. So you have Jamal
Johnny
Adams
still
coming
says
over.
Seahawks. It's the Raiders, Johnny.
Sorry, Raiders.
It's Pete
the
Carroll,
Raiders. The Raiders drop down this safety, and they bump the linebackers over. Okay. So you're running this wide zone. So you've got to get a hat on a hat. You're going to block receiver out here. The tight end has to come out and block the safety who's just come down in the box. Now your other tight end has to come up to Jamal Adams, who's moved out as an overhang. So you've got to go get him with that tight end. That means that your right tackle, Spencer Burford, has to go get this edge who's playing as a 9 technique. If you're running a wide zone, you have to understand this as a running back. You have to see this shift and say, okay, the edge is not going to be there, because you read this from outside in. They're going to read this from this gap inside, every single gap. They're going to go one gap at a time, but you streamline this process. You say, he's not scooping him. He's not scooping him. He's not scooping him. These are too far lateral moves for them to actually get there. So you understand these are all going to be wall down blocks. So now you're going to have kickouts. You're going to come up here to kick out. You're going to come up here to kick Jamal Adams out. And Burford's going to kick out the end. So that means your read now starts at the B gap. Now he's got to keep that hit, much like a quarterback's got to keep his head in the right place with the eyes in the right place. He's got to keep his head tracked out here so that these linebackers still go, but he's got to prepare his body to make this cut on a dime here, because you're going to be cutting this up either through the B gap or inside the center, because your center is also going to have a tough reach block here to the what's, I think he's playing in 2-eye, if I remember right from the end zone view. So Pooney's going to be going getting the linebacker. And again, these guys are going to flow. So most likely you're going to wall all of this down. And so your cutback lane is going to be inside Nick Zakel. That's what these running backs have got to see, but he's not ready for it. So he ends up running this way outside, and this becomes a huge loss, as you're now here going for a 3-yard loss on first down. You can't have those kinds of runs. You're running the ball. You need to not have these negatives. And so we're going to see this motion. George Kittle's going to come over and watch the movement here. And so you're going to understand what I'm talking about here. Okay. Jake Brendel is not getting this scoop. That is not happening. So Pooney might get it. He might get this scoop. Ben Barch. And Jake Brendel might get up here. But now you have a linebacker that's unaccounted for, because he's got to go get the outside safety. Kittle's got to go get Jamal Adams. And Burford's got to go get the end. So you have a linebacker right here that is unaccounted for if you're blocking it this way. So this has to get walled down. And as a running back, you've got to understand that. So you're going to be cutting it through this gap, most likely, by the pre-snap look. And that's why you do all these motions.
And you don't think he knows that at this point? You don't think?
No, because his track is straight. He's going to get it, and then the head turns. He's reading it from here. He should be one step away from cutting this up. This should be cut up right through this hash.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get these guys walling down. These guys are trying to cut off the backside. It's not super clean, but you're probably getting at least a 2-yard gain. If he can cut it up hard enough and get through this hole, you are looking at an explosive. Corey Kiner did it later. So that's what you're looking for, but he's not ready with the body to make the cut. So as this happens now, you can see that eyes are locked in on the edge. He is reading this block. He needs to understand that block was never happening.
Yeah.
So these blocks were never happening. He's trying to figure this out. It needs to be through here right now, down this hash. That's what I'm talking about. And all of that was a signal there pre-snap. That's why these running backs have to understand the pre-snap looks just like quarterbacks would on passing plays. It's zone blocking. This is about reading the block. It's not guaranteed you're going to have that gap. You read it from outside in, and there are pre-snap clues. You have to understand what your line is capable of doing, or even is possible to doing. They had you out leveraged pre-snap, so you're going to cut this up, and you should have a hole if you get this, because you got a linebacker. But what I'm saying is he has to keep the head pointed this way, eyes here, so that once you confirm that, you cut it up so that you get these guys moving, flowing, and you get through this hole. Instead, it's not, and he's gummed up here for a big loss. Again, if you look at it again, also he takes a false step here. His fifth step should be his outside foot or his left foot, and it's not. his fifth step is going to be his inside foot, so he's a step late on it as well. So there's that false step right there. He picks his foot up and it's down. It just needs to be boom. You go, you get that out there, and the steps are too short too. He needs a longer stride on these to gain more ground so that he's on time, because right here, or the next step should be his cut step. So right when he steps here, it should be the outside foot, and it's put a foot in the ground and go right inside this hash.
Yeah.
And he's not ready to do that. And you see that the hole was going to be there. You cut it up inside that hash. It's there. Again, it's going to close pretty quick, but so there's no guarantee that it's going to be an explosive. It looks like the hole's there, but you're probably looking at maybe, you know, into this area, you get hit, you drag guys, you get at least a 3-4 yard gain. This is the stuff I'm talking about when I talk about Jordan Mason or different guys. Like, you would see these kinds of runs from Jordan Mason.
Garendo.
And you're seeing it now, and you see it from Garendo, and you're seeing it with Patrick Taylor, that these running backs have to understand. And this is why Christian McCaffrey doesn't come off the field, because you have, like, Christian McCaffrey understands those pre-snap looks. He understands I'm out leveraged over here, so I'm going to cut this back. You can watch him, like, his head will be pointed where it is, and his body already starts to turn, getting, like, shifting his weight to cut, even though his head will stay where it needs to be, so that he keeps that stripe pointed and he keeps defenders attacking front side so he can make that cutback. And so they flow too far and he gets that cutback lane. That's this kind of stuff, the nuances of playing this running back position that are hard, and why we tend to churn through running backs. Like, we'll bring a guy in, you see if they have the goods to do this, you give them the opportunities, they may be productive, and we go, wow, you know, they need to hold on to this guy, and they let him go, because every once in a while you're going to get an explosive when you do these things. You might break a tackle and make it good, and everybody says, man, these guys are awesome, why do they let him go? But they're not picking up on these nuances. If you find a guy that can do that every time, you're going to keep him no matter what. And you're going to keep that. You won't let that guy outside the building. That was what Mike Shanahan and Gibbs were so good at when they were in Denver, is it seemed like they just had these 1,000-yard running backs come out of nowhere. Well, they also drafted a ton of running backs, and they were gathering running backs from everywhere, and they let these guys go at it. They give them these reps, and they see who has that innate ability to play it from that side and see it and then react and go. Because if a guy does, you don't have to have the greatest 40-yard time. They like it, but you don't have to have it. You don't have to, you know, be able to juke move everybody, to have the stiff arm, to have the spin move. You don't have to have all of those things to be highly productive in this in offense. If you can pull off those things, like Alfred Morris was one of those guys. He didn't have a lot of those moves, but when he could do it, man, he ran for 1,700 yards. And so, you know, that's what you see with this. So that's where it's at.
Yeah, that reminds me, I assume, because I don't know as much as you do on this, so I assume it's not. But looking at that, it does remind me of the old Rams, Mike Martz, where they would throw that toss, and the idea was not to keep going that way. It would be that, like, they would automatically come back the other way. It was designed that way.
You're trying to get guys to over pursue.
Yeah.
Like, and we do have counters. Like, what that is when those defensive ends are crashing down so really hard, or if they're accounting for the quarterback, like you see these, you know, we'll do these wide zone and then Brock Purdy rolls out. And we ran several of those, you know, it's the, my mind's totally blanking on it, but, anyways, it's a movement pass. Kyle calls a movement, and he's got different names for him. Slide concept. So you're going to slide one way. You act like you're running that wide zone. You bring the pass around the other. Well, if that defensive end keeps accounting for your quarterback, and every time your quarterback's turning around, he's got a defensive end or linebacker in his face, and he's having to get that off right away. That's when you run with those counters. You bring that split flow. Your tight end comes across and kicks that guy out because he's staying back there too long. And then you run it right in that alley. But when teams are doing this, that the ends aren't just, you know, accounting for your quarterback the whole way, and they're crashing down to keep you from getting those negatives. You've got to be able to see the overflow pre-snap, that they have you out leverage. You're going to be cutting it back, and you're okay with getting 2 yards, because if you run it how they scheme it, Kyle's fine with getting 2 yards there in that situation. He's going to say, you know what, they did that. But you know what we're going to do? We're going to put their defensive end in a blender after that. We're going to run those movement passes. And you saw Brock hit several of them, and Mac Jones hit several of them in the game. That's why you have that. You do have a counter to that. Yes, they can overflow on this as long as you don't have a big negative and you get in there, you at least get 2 yards, you stay on schedule. Because next first down, you're going to get them. Or the next first down after that, you're going to get them. But you have to stay on schedule, and you can't miss this read and then turn into a 3-yard loss. We're now at 2nd and 13, and you're behind the chains, and now you might be looking at a punt, because this was later. Brock ended up hitting a big pass down to Ricky Pearsall. You shouldn't ask your quarterback to hit that, to have to make 18. That kind of a 3rd and 18 conversion. Like that's cool not sustainable. It's cool to see, but you are like, that is not efficient football. And that's not the way that Kyle Shanahan's going to like to see it.
No, and the chat earlier was talking about that 3rd and 18, and we kind of rolled past it, but that was good to see, but that's not by design. It's still frustrating, and vision for these running backs is definitely supreme. We're seeing that. It's really cool to go through church like we did. The chat did get a little bit more quiet. A couple things. We did have a super chat that I want to scroll.
Yes, I have it pinned.
Okay.
I saw it.
Cornelius, he shout out to Cornelius. What up, man? Chase Lucas. Yeah, we talked about that at the beginning, that dude is just a stud, and you like him for the nickel then?
Yeah, I mean, I like him for nickel or dime. Like, this really becomes fascinating. It also makes me wonder, with some of the stuff, possibly shopping Jair Brown, the Jets make sense. Going back and playing with Steve Wilkes. Upton Stout. Sorry, I was blanking on the name. Upton Stout. He played safety half the time there in Kentucky. So he's got some experience there. I don't know if they're going to try and get him to learn 2 spots. But he does. When they drafted him, he reminded me a lot of him, and Marcus Siegel kind of reminded me of Jimmy Ward. These kind of hybrid safety slot guys, because both of them did that. And when I watched Marcus Siegel's tape, I watched Upton Stout's first, and I was like, okay, I think it was the game against Alabama. He probably played 25% of the snaps at safety, and then he played the other 75% in the slot. And then when I watched Marcus Siegel, it was like flipped. It was like 75% of the time he was a safety, 25% of the time he was in the slot. And so when I watched both these guys, I was like, okay, it feels like they're getting kind of these hybrid safety slot role guys that very much Jimmy Ward was. And not that they're trying to replace Jimmy Ward. They're trying to have somebody in that role of a hybrid safety slot that can play man, that can play in the slot, that you can put out there almost like a small linebacker is what you're looking for, is a small coverage linebacker. Somebody that has the coverage skills to be in that spot, but also is able to come up and fill against the run. And so I just wonder, with Chase Lucas filling into the slot role, he reminds me more of K'Wan Williams is Chase Lucas. Of going, okay, do they start to see if Upton can handle some snaps at safety, and do we start doing that? It's just what I wonder, and does that make Jair Brown again expendable, and they shop him earlier than when Malik Mustafa comes back? Just something I wonder about.
And he only wonders about it, guys. He is not going to have a show this Wednesday night and decree
and say we are not trading
Jair Brown is a 3rd round pick, and he is not.
He was their first player they picked in that draft, and they are not trading him.
He went to Penn State. News. Penn State is going to win the Natty this year.
And I would never say that. I am never saying that.
Hey, what they might.
The world? I might have some bad takes, but I will never have a bad take that Penn State is winning a national championship.
Happy Valley, baby. All right, so
give me more credit than that.
So I got to tell you, Johnny, I'm wearing my Ninja Turtles t-shirt because it's the 35th anniversary of the 1990 movie that came out. And did you know this past weekend, they had it out in theaters? And so I went and saw the 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It was epic. It was amazing.
It was epic. I mean,
what a good movie.
That's a wonderfully terrible movie. Like, it is so early 90s. You love everything. If if you didn't grow up as a 90s kid, I mean, I'm sorry. You missed out on the original Ninja Turtles, the live action Ninja Turtles. And look, even all the way to when they went back in time to
that was really
Japan.
bad. The first one was the best one.
Because the third one gave us that saying forever. It's really quiet, a little too quiet.
No, that was part 2, wasn't it?
Was
with
it not?
Razor? No, Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze with Vanilla Ice.
Secret of the Ooze.
It was that one. Look, I know my Turtles trivia.
Turtle,
okay,
go turtle, go turtle, go turtle,
ninja, go ninja. Oh
whatever.
My gosh, Johnny!
Whatever. It's been like 35 years since I've seen
let
it.
the professional,
so
Johnny. Good Lord. This is
I'm
derailing badly.
All right.
Okay, you're not as big as a Turtles fan as am I, basically, is what I'm getting at. But
look, when I was a kid, I had every one of them as the action figure.
Oh yeah. So it was a great weekend.
Well, so who was your I just want to know, because if you're gonna give me a hard time, who was your favorite Ninja Turtle?
All right, so I would say probably, man, my